Hello everyone, welcome to your week 1 lecture. So today we're starting the accounting for Sage 300. The first lecture that we have, I'm gonna refer to your notes for the first week. So the agenda for week 1 is we're covering up these 6 items. The first 2 items where we're gonna review the Blackboard side and the course outline and critical path. So this part will be done in our live lecture, and the recorded lecture, usually what's going to happen is any content that we need to cover, which is the material from the test book, I will be recording a separate video for that will cover up the chapters or the lessons that we need to cover, and that will be recorded separately. So in today's lecture, what we're going to do is I'm going to record a quick review of Appendix B. So as per my live lecture, what you guys will find out that this course is is a course that cannot be completed without the Sage 300 software. So you have 2 options in this course. Is one, you can get the software installed on your computer. The second option you have is if you're having hard time getting the Sage 300 installed on your computer, on your laptop, then we have the second option where we can use the Humber AppStream website to get access to the software and get familiar with the process of using that, so you can do all the work which is going to be required each week, and your assignments and the exams. You can do all of that in on that online platform. So those are the 2 options that we have. So in today's class, in the first week, that is an important task for you guys, is that you wanted to install the Sage 300 2019. So these notes are actually saying 2017. It is not 2017. What we're installing is the Sage 300 2019. For this semester, we are installing 2019 version of Sage 300. Along with that, you also have to require to install the SQL server. So we'll briefly talk about this, and I have posted a separate video that describe the process as well. So you guys can listen to that video separately and see if that can help you to foster the process of getting the SQL and the Sage 300 installed. Once the Sage 300 is installed, what we're going to do is we're going to cover up lesson 1. So this is something that I will cover up today. We will get started with lesson 1, and in this course what I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using the Humber app stream. So with the app stream, you should able to see what's what the process is getting the database ready and installed on the computer, and how do I get access to the files, how do I upload it on the app stream. So that way, if anybody who is using the app stream, they can use that video as well, and anybody who is working from home where they have the software installed on their laptop, they can use the same video as well, because for them they will eliminate the steps at the beginning, at the end, but everything else will be the same for the students who are working from home, for the software that's installed on their laptop versus on the Humber app stream. So today's lecture, we're going to focus on Appendix B, Lesson 1 and Lesson 2. So to get started, what I'm going to do is we'll brief you on Appendix B. So Appendix B is actually at the back of the test book. So at the back of the test book, when you go there, there's an Appendix B, and the title for that appendix is Download and Installed Sage 300 2019 and the SQL Server 2014. So you are going to follow the steps from that appendix step by step, and you want to make sure that you don't miss any of those steps. So in brief, the steps focused on: 1, you're going to download the database, the file to install the Sage 300. So now the book tells you the link where you're going to go to download, but on your Blackboard I also posted. So on your Blackboard, if you go into the link right here, So Sage 50 download. So I put the steps here as well. So what you do is you click on this link. This will take you to Sage website, and then you scroll down to Sage 300 and you click registered. Once you click registered, it's going to ask you to fill up all that information. You're going to fill all the information, and for the school you can put Humber College, and then make sure you use the address that you have, email address that you have access to. Once you click submit, usually it happens very quickly, but they say that they could take almost like 24 hours to give you a response on the email. So once you click registered, you will get an email from Sage with the link for the software, and that link will have 2017, 2019 and 2020 software. What you're going to do is you're going to click on the 2019. Once you click on it, and it's going to download the software on your computer. Once you download, you extract the file, and then go through the process of installing installing uh, the SQL, and then installing the Sage. So now if you wanted to see the video, you can go into this folder right here, and you will see there are two videos. Now this is not the video by me, this is the video that was provided to me by Helen, who is another professor who teaches Sage 300 as well. So you can look at this video. This will give you a process of how to download and install the software. So the steps are also in the book. You can also look at this video, and when you actually doing it, you may find that some of the steps may be different on your computer, because when you install it, the process may be different. Okay, so this video will help you to go through Appendix B. Okay, so be patient with when you're installing the Sage, because it does take some time, and don't rush through that. Everything the book tells you to type in as a user password, make sure you type in the same information that's provided in the test book. Okay, and I hope that all of you guys will be successful in getting the software, the SQL and the Sage installed on your computer. And if by chance you are one of the students who is not able to install, don't overstress yourself with that. We may able to come up with the process, and then I'm gonna go through the Humber app stream. So then what you do is you may want to start doing all the work using Humber app stream, so that way you know that from the beginning how to use the application versus spending so much time in getting the software installed. Okay, so step number one is get the software installed. Okay, that's number one thing for you to do this week. Once the software is installed, then you are going into chapter 1. Okay, so there are some notes I have for some of the tips for the SQL installation. Once the software is installed, then we're going to go into lesson 1. So now lesson 1 is actually going to get yourself set up for the company. So when you are completing this test book, what we're going to do is we are working on Omni Electronics. So the way the Sage 300 work is you have two things. You have an SQL server and you have Sage 300, and both of them has to work simultaneously. So what happened at the beginning, and this is used in IT stuff. So an IT will come in, they will set up the SQL, they will set up the company files on the SQL. So in exercise 1, what you're doing there is you're creating the database on the SQL. So exercise 1.1 is actually demonstrate how to set up the database on SQL Server. Okay, so now this is only done if you install the computer on your if you install the software on your computer. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a folder on your computer. So I recommend all of you guys to have a folder with the course name accounting 204. In here, I want you to create a database files. And in here, you are gonna name the database exactly what the book is going to tell you on exercise 1.1. So in exercise 1.1, what they want you to do is they want you to create a database for Omni, and within here you have to do is Omni dat, and it has to be 6-digit, and Omni sys. Okay, so you create these folders, and then what you're going to do is, I don't have the SQL server installed on my laptop because I tried that last semester and I was having technical issues with my laptop, and I was not able to install the SQL on my laptop. Okay, so that is one reason that I'm telling you, if you're not able to install, don't over stress yourself. You can use the app stream to do your work. Okay, so what you're going to do, if you have the SQL installed, you go into the start window and you're going to look for SQL Server 2014, and once you go there, you will copy the link for your computer, and then create a database SQL sys, OMN sys, and then link that OMN sys with this folder, and then follow the steps with putting all the information that book asks you to do, and then you do the same thing with OmniDat and link that OmniDat database with this folder. Once that part is done, you will see that OmniDat OmniSys is created on SQL. Once the OmniDat and OmniSys is created on the SQL, then you have to do the database setup on the Sage 300 as well. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go into the old program and look for database setup for Sage 300. So then you go into Sage 300, you enter the password, the ones that is actually telling you the information is all in your test book in exercise 1.2, and you create the OmniSys database first and link it, and then OmniDat database and link that, and then press OK. And then after you set that up, you will have OmniSys and OmniDat created on your computer. Now, those database, exercise 1.1 and 1.2, you only have to do it if you have the computer, the Sage 300 installed on your computer. Now, if you guys want to see the steps for exercise 1.1 and 1.2, you can go into the same folder. The second video that you see right here is actually creating the database. Okay, so this video is again provided by Helen, and she have created the Sage, the OmniDat and OmniSys database on the SQL as well as on the Sage 300. Okay, so this will give you a good understanding on how you will complete exercise 1 and 1.2. It's pretty stable state process, but you have to make sure that you pay a careful attention with all the detail that was provided in that steps. So once you complete exercise 1.1 and 1.2, you have OmniDat and OmniSys database created, and now you're starting Sage 300. Okay, so if you are working on the software installed on your computer, what you do is you go into the program right here and you look for Sage 300. Sage 300. So you type in Sage 300, and I don't see the Sage 300 here because I don't have it installed. Okay, but if you do it, you will see the Sage 300, and then you click run as administration, and then you select the OmniDat and then follow the steps that's provided for that company. Now, for the students who are not able to install that on your computer, what you're going to do, you are going to go into the Humber app stream. So I'm going to share this link with you on your website, on your Blackboard through announcement. So you click on the Humber app stream and you go into the School of Business. You click on that standard, and then you are going to require to enter your user login, which is the same information that you use for your Blackboard. And here you have all the software that's available to you guys. Okay, so what you do here is you click on Sage 300. And this does take some time, usually 30 to 45 seconds to have the session secured. And once it's secured, it will make sure that it actually locks the session. The only time it will kick you out if you press the cross sign here or you log out. Okay, so you want to make sure that when you're working on this, you don't cross it and you don't lose the internet connection, and everything uh, will stay safe. Okay, so last semester I've seen majority of my class while using the app stream, but what I want you guys to do is for the first week, try to install the software, and if you're unsuccessful in getting the software installed, then you come in to the app stream. So now when I click on that, you see that you are into the Sage 300 window. So then you have all these different applications that you have ready to use. So in exercise 1.3, so the students who are working on their application, they simply click on this start program and look for Sage 300. Okay, and students who are going to use the app stream, you will simply come in, and for chapter 1 only, you start with the same way. So you just click on Sage 300. Okay, so both of you guys, if you are using the app stream or the software, you will see the same screen. Okay, but the difference is when you come here, we see so many different companies. But if you are working on your computer, the software that you installed, you will only see Omni Dat because you only have created one database. But this software that we have on the Humber app stream, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different companies that we have. But they are all same because they are empty database. There is nothing in those database. Okay, it doesn't matter whether I start APT or OMN, they all have no information in there. They're simply an empty database. So for the chapter, for all the chapters that we're gonna be working with Omni Electronics. Okay, so the first chapter, what we're doing is we're setting up the Omni Electronics. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna enter the session date. The session date for us is gonna be 01/01/2021. Okay, and I press OK. And the very first thing it's gonna ask you is there is nothing in there in that application in that company file that you open. There is nothing there. Do you want to activate the administration services? We're gonna say yes, we want to activate the administration services. And once it's activated, the first thing it's going to ask you is the session date, saying what is the session date, the current session date that you are gonna set up for this common services. We're gonna say okay, you know what, we're gonna start the fiscal year on January 1, 2021. And then here it's going to ask you the company detail, so you can fill up all the detail, but what I'm going to do is I'm only going to put the company name, Omni Electrical Supplies Limited, and I'm not going to put all the detail. I'm just going to put the country CA, and I'll put the province Ontario as well. And then the most important information we have there is under the option, you have to make sure you identify the currency. Without the currency, this software is not going to work because this software is a multi-currency. It has the multi-currency application. So you have to tell the system what currency is your functional currency, right? So we put that information here. Then we have some other information. If you wanted to change it, number of fiscal period, we have 12. That means it's monthly. We also can change this to 13. The 13 represent if you are reporting on a 4 weeks period. Warning date, anytime somebody change the date more than 30 days, it will give you a warning. Now if you have locations or country codes, you can enter those information. That's too complicated for us. We're gonna keep this software, this course a little bit simple. Now, if you are using emails, you can put the email address, the server name, and everything else. We're not gonna do that here, so we leave that blank, and we press OK to move into the next screen. Okay, so when you are doing this, you may have to go back and enter all the information about the company. But for us, we're gonna leave that blank. But I mean, for me, I'm gonna leave it blank. But when you are going there, what you're going to do is you're gonna enter the full detail for the company. Okay, so now if you got in and say, now I ask you to say, you know what, can you change the name of the company and put all the detail that's provided on exercise 1.4. So to change the company information, you go into the admin services. So you go into the common services actually and look at company profile. And here this is the same page that we have at the beginning. So what you can do here is you can put the address, all the information that you need to set up the company. Okay, because this information will be driven on any invoices you generate, any reports you're going to print. It's going to have all the information coming right from here. Okay, so if you guys want, you can complete all the information that's available here. So I'm going to close it. The next part we have is in exercise 1. So we're jumping into exercise 1.5 now. So in exercise 1.5, what we're looking at is going to review the different options we have under the common services. Okay, so here under your common services, what you do is you can see that we have a company profile we looked at. Then the next one we have the fiscal calendar. So if I double click on it, it says you cannot use the fiscal calendar for the earlier version of Sage 300 because we don't have anything activated yet. So we will click OK and we'll come back to it later on. Then we have scheduling. Okay, so now if you click on scheduling and you click on the reminder list, you don't see anything. So now the way the Sage 300 works is that you can create different schedules for different individuals or the group and then have those schedules applied to those groups. So every time you use that schedule, it will remind those individuals or the group of individuals who are belong to that schedule, and it will give them the reminders. What we're going to do here is we're going to create a monthly reminder. Okay, so here we call this monthly, and the description is a monthly reminder. And here it tells you that which user you want to specify. We're going to say we want for all users. And do you want this reminder to go in prior to number of days? We say we want this reminder to go in advance 3 days before. So we do that 3 days. And then here we need to mention when do we want the schedule to start. We want that to start on January 31st, 2020. Here's a recurring period. So I type in monthly, but it has to match with your recurring period here. So I say it's monthly. And how frequently do we want this to be? Last day of the month. And then we click add. So now this monthly reminder is set up. So if you go into the reminder list, there is nothing there because we don't have anything assigned. But if you look at the due date, there's nothing due because we're still sitting on January 1. Okay, so this helps you to create reminders for the different groups of individuals that you have in your company. Now we're going back to the common services here. Now comes to the currency. Now we don't gonna use multi-currencies in this course, but if you have multi-currencies, you can define different currencies which already have. There are some sample companies or sample currency rates, currencies that are set up here. Now you have to maintain that independently. So you can go into the currency rate type. You have different currency rate types here, and you can set up the spot rate and the current rate, whatever you want to do. And then this is the one where you put up the rates. Now these rates are not doesn't come automatically. Somebody has to come in and put the rates using the online rate that's available. And once you put that in for the number of days that you want to use, it will remember that, and whenever you're entering the transaction for that date, it will pick up the rate from this currency rate that you set up here. Okay, the good thing is that we're not going to cover up the multi-currency rate, so we don't need to worry about the rates calculation. So that's about the currency. uh, then the remaining chapter, so exercise 1.7 that we have in this course is focused on administration services. Okay, so administration services, we have users. Okay, so now these are the information that I'm not going to test you in your exam or the test or the assignment, because these are the information that's usually set up by the IT or somebody who's senior enough to set up the users. So here what you do is you click on the users, and if you wanted to create more users, see we only have one user, which is admin. Now if you want to create more, you can click on the plus sign and put the detail, which is the username, the kind of access that you want. If you want to set up the password, you can set up the password for that, and if you want to set up certain roles, you can set up those roles as well. Okay, this is where you set up the users. Then we have security groups, so you can have different security groups and then have different tasks assigned to those groups. Right now we don't have any other modules, so if you have accounts payable or receivables, you will have them listed here. Then you identify which group is going to have which kind of applications available, so that person, when the person log in and they are assigned to this security group, they will only see those features available to them. So again, I'm not gonna ask you to set up the security groups, so you don't need to worry about that part. User authorizations as well, so you can have different users to have different kind of authorization that can be set up right here. The data activation is something that we're gonna be using in this course as we move from one module to another. So I will show you this one right now, but when we go into the future course, you'll see how we're gonna use this. So right now we only have common services and administration services set up. So if I click proceed here, and it's going to show me all the different modules that are available for us. Now, do we want to use this? Not right now. But as we move from one module to another, we will keep activating those modules, right? So now we know we're going to leave this blank, and then when we start lesson 2, we set up the general ledger module. Okay, so for now, we will skip it. And then database, the other information that we will be using here is the database dump, not the load is used, the dump that we're going to use here. So the database dump is actually a backup. Okay, so once you finish the chapter, I'm going to show you a process of how you do a database dump. Okay, so this is something that I will leave it to the end. uh, yeah, I think these are the pretty much things that you guys will be looking at. So exercise 1.3, I'm not very keen on exercise 1.3, but it's important you read through all that information that's available. But once you have that information, read through it. If there's any question that you have or you come across any questions, feel free to send me a message, and I'll be more than happy to connect with you, and then we can answer any questions that you have from any of these exercises. So now, once we had finished with the database, with all the different settings, the important information that you guys have to do after completing every chapter is to create a backup. Okay. Now, if you're working on your software that's installed on your computer, you remember we created this folder for the database file. If you're working on your computer, everything that you're doing is automatically getting saved into these folders. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you still don't need to create a backup. You still need to create a backup. So what I'm recommending everybody is you're gonna have another folder. We're gonna call this database backups. Okay, so right here under the database backup, we're gonna create backups for all the chapters. Okay, so when you're working on your lessons in your test book, we're always going to be working on Omni electronics. Okay, so when you finish chapter 1, when you start chapter 2, you start from where you finish in lesson 1. Okay, so you continue building on the same company. Okay, so when you finish lesson 1, it doesn't matter whether you work on your computer or you work on the application, you still have to do the backup. Okay, so I'm going to show you the process to create a backup on the app stream, and you are doing the backup the same way if you're working at your computer as well. Okay, and I'll differentiate what the difference is going to be. So you are still in the software, and what you have to do is you have to create a database dump. So you go into a database dump, and what you're going to do is, if you're working on your computer, you are going to come here, database backup, you create a folder, and we call this OMN, which is the Omni end of lesson 1 backup. Okay, so you create this folder. Okay, so if you're working on your PC, on the software that's installed on your PC, you create a folder on your C drive where you have this where you have the database backup folder. Now if you're working on the app stream, you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to create that folder on your temp folder. So if you're working right here, you are going to go into your My Files, click on temporary folder, and click add files, add folder, sorry, and then you type in the same information saying OMN end of lesson 1 and press enter. So now this folder is created. Now what you want to do is you want to dump your file into that folder. Now when you're dumping your file, it's going to show you all the files. You want to make sure you dump the file that you're working on. So when you dump the file, there are two files that you have, OmniDat and OmniSys. You want to dump both of them, okay, but one by one. So you're going to start with OmniDat, and you're going to give a location, say where do you want this to be dumped, and we're going to say we want to dump this into Omni end of lesson 1. Press OK, and we're going to click dump, and it's going to give you a warning, and we're going to say OK, and say OK, the transaction has been completed and these number of files has been downloaded. And you're going to do the same thing for Omni Sys. Okay, and the location still the same, and we click done, and it's done. Okay, so if you did that on your PC, you will have those files right here. But if you did it on the app stream, you did it in your app stream, so that goes in your temporary folders. And you go into a temporary folder, and you see there is your folder and all the files that you needed. Okay, now when you create a backup, I recommend all of you to zip the backup. Okay, now if you have that folder on your PC, don't need to worry too much about it, because that file is sitting on your C drive, and if you have enough space on your C drive, that's fine, you can leave it as unzipped, but I recommend everybody to zip it. So now if you're working on your computer, you can right click on that folder. So technically you can right click on the folder and click on send to zip folder, then it will zip this file. But now if you're working on your app stream, what you will do is you have some extra steps to complete. So what you're going to do, so you go into the 7-zip, which is right here. You're going to use this software to zip the folder. So you click on the 7-zip, it's going to ask you, say which folder you want to zip. You go in here, you click on the Omni Electronic, and you click on this plus sign. When you click on this plus sign, it's going to take that folder and it's going to zip it to 1.7 zip. You press OK, and you see that your folder is zipped. You close it. Now what you need to do is you need to save this file onto your PC, because if you're working on this app stream and you close the window, everything that you have saved here it will diminish and it will disappear as soon as you log out from the session. Okay, so therefore what you want to do is this zipped file, you're going to click on this arrow and click download. Once you click download, it will save the file on your download files. From here you can cut it and then go into your C drive and go into 204 database backup, and I'll put it right here. Okay, so because I was working on the app stream, this folder is empty for me because I did it on the app stream, and this is the backup that I saved. Now I can get rid of the folder because I don't need the folder, I need only the backup. Okay, so that's how you will do the database dump. So that will take care of your database. So then this will take care of your lesson 1 as well. Okay, so now this is how you will complete lesson 1. Now regardless whether you work on your PC, on the software installed on your PC, or you work on the app stream, you follow the same process. The only difference is that when you're working on the app stream, you will dump the file on the temporary folder, then download it and save it on your C drive. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to your notes. So we completed all these exercises from lesson 1. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is to start lesson 2, I'm gonna stop the session and I will start another recording that focus on lesson 2. The reason that I wanted to stop that is I wanted to show you guys that if you were to close your computer and redo your lesson 2 exercise, you see we had to perform a database load if you are working on the app stream. Okay, but if you're working on your software that's installed on your computer, you simply go and click say 300 and start where you left. Okay, so I'm gonna stop this video and I will see you in a few minutes, and then you can click on the second video to continue on lesson 2 lecture.